I think like when you're younger, the most important thing is to read and write, you know, because once you've done that, you know, especially if you're sort of like 7, say for instance, and you can read and write, you've got the potential to learn everything. You know, that child has anyway, you know. You know, so I think that's number one really, sort of just teaching them how to read and write. You know, I mean, I had a problem, do you know what I mean? My parents separated, you know what I mean? And my mum couldn't be there for me, she had to go to work, whatever. And my teacher's locking me up all the time, do you know what I mean?
That didn't help.
The first few years, whatever.
You
know, so anyway, I was more into art. You know, I was an artist, I just wanted to draw, do you know what I mean? Not read and write. You know, but I think like if my parents did stay together, things, you know, because I don't blame them, blame the system itself a bit, you know, whatever, you know, the way things are out there. But if they did stay together in a perfect world, I think I would have been, you know, better educated, you know. My mum told me stories and things, but she didn't, you know. She didn't do any of that, you know. She just wasn't there for me, she couldn't be. You know. And my nan didn't help me with reading and writing, do you know what I mean? And I think it's so important to do, you know, because I think I think that I would have been a lot more intelligent today if I did have the right upbringing, you know. You know, and I appreciate a lot of things in life, you know, and in a kind of way I even appreciate in a funny way that my mum and dad did separate, because I learned a lot of different things, and, you know, how to stand up for myself, because I didn't have a dad, do you know what I mean? You know, so sometimes I kind of like look at life like that sometimes bad things do happen, in a way, you know, like your mum and dad my mum and dad did separate, like a lot of people's parents do these days. But sometimes it brings out, it matures you. You know, like for instance, you've got to learn how to cook, you know, early, and all this kind of stuff.
Look after yourself a bit more.
And I think that's kind of important, really, independence, really, you know, and because I didn't really sort of have two parents like most people did, I had to become more independent quickly.
Well, I'm glad too that, even, same for me, I had to become independent very quickly, but I'm glad too, like, with my mum, like, she instilled like that in me and my, like, you know, I've got 2 sisters, you know, so me and my 2 sisters, my mum kind of instilled in that, you know, that kind of independence in us from young, because obviously she was always very busy working, etc. She was kind of predominantly a single parent for most of our lives, and you know, so yeah, you know, she taught us, you know, we had to learn how to cook young, how to, you know, all these different things, you know, learn how to wash your clothes and how to iron, and, you know, how to cook and how to look after yourself, and, you know, how to clean up, and, you know, I remember being 7, 8 years old, already stood up at the sink washing dishes and shit, like, you know, like from a young age, like, you know.
Because you learned how to read and write, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I was going to say my mum was, yeah, she was instrumental in that too, though, mate. I remember being young, and there were times like her having, like, not, you know, with all kids, sometimes you lose interest, you know what I mean? You might, you know, might be engaging for the first 20 minutes, but then after that you start to lose interest a little bit.
Where have you got time?
But she was, yeah, she did try her best. She tried her best, you know what I mean? I remember her always reading to us, and, you know, her getting, you know, making me read, and, you know, making me read to her, if you see what I mean, sitting there with me, and, you know, and getting me to correct it if I was wrong in any way. And, you know,
I didn't get any of that.
Yeah. You know. Occasionally I'll get the odd punishment because I didn't want to do it because I was tired, or, you know, whatever, young and just tired, and, you know, whatever, didn't want to do it. And I'd get a punishment, and then still have to come back and do it again 15, you know, 20 minutes later, got to, you know, after that punishment, got to start again, you know, from the beginning, you know. So, you know, there was no getting out of it kind of thing, you know. But I'm kind of glad she did that, you know, because, and not only that, but I was always good at English in school. Like I said before, I was always good at English at school. You know, I was always good at, you know, writing stories, and being creative with my writing, and using. I used to like, but when I was younger, I used to take a lot of pride in having like a extensive kind of like vocabulary, if you see what I mean. I used to like know what all these different big words mean and shit like that, and how they're used in context, and, all these different kind of things. You see what I mean? Like I just had like a thirst for knowledge even at a young age, as to like, you know, how do I improve my vocabulary? How do I, you know, etc. You know.
Yeah, well, I do that. I've been doing that the last 7 years, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't do it so much when I was young. You know, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's, you know, like when you're younger, you take things in.
Oh yeah.
Easier.
More easier.
You know, like so. I think we all do. You know, I think we all wish that we live in a perfect world. You know, where we all got, you know, like our parents are not separated and all this sort of stuff, do you know what I mean? Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
But it's not, is it?
It's not.
You know, I mean, some people...
Not the ideal world.
Some people do manage to sort of bring their family without separating, whatever, and some people, it doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
It's, you know, to me, I think, personally, I think marriage is very unnatural, the way it is today. It's like a business, somehow, you know? And that's what I don't like about it, you know. I think like marriage should be not a business. Somehow, you know. It's, you know. I think it's damaging to children as well. Like I don't think like some people are happily married and they're quite, you know. And I can see the lovely thing about marriage and all that, you know. But like I you know, like my marriage, for instance, you know. One thing I do regret is actually getting married. I really do, you know, because it completely backfired on me. You know, went the other way, you know. And I think how many other marriages
ended.
You know, it's only the children that really it kind of suffer in a kind of way, you know. And I kind of think it's a bit of a nasty world because, like, when you're at school, they don't teach you about marriage or anything really about it. It's something that you leave school and you kind of hope to learn yourself or hope that your parents have told you. In a funny way, you know, about it all. Because honestly, when I got married, I really didn't have a clue.
Yeah, likewise.
You know, I
did.
I understand it now.
But not fully, not to, like you said, not like now, if you see what I mean. Now, after 10 years of being married, you know, I've got a much greater, deeper understanding of what marriage is all about.
I understand it now, God.
And you apply, the more you grow together and the more you get a deeper understanding, the more you apply those things to your life and to your marriage, and, you know, if you see what I mean, you know. It's a growing process, especially when you get married young. Like I got married when I was 21, you know. And my wife was only a few years older than me, if you see what I mean. She's only a couple of years older than me, so, you know, she was young too, you know. So, you know, we were both young.
I was 35.
Were you? Yeah.
I think, yeah. Do you know why I got married, don't you? Because I was stupid then. That's why. That's what I think. That's what I think about it. Because now I'm intelligent, alright, yeah. I wouldn't have done it now.
Okay.
And that's it, because I know what marriage is all about now, you know. I've studied it a bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did not study it back then at all, you know. I just thought it was like, I really thought we were happy together, you know. I wouldn't have got married otherwise, you know. We were together like 7 years before we got married, you know. We had a son together. You know what I mean? And I thought we'd better get married because of the son, you know, whatever.
Trying to do
the right thing.
Do right by her and...
Yeah. No, it didn't, you know. As soon as I got married to her, she didn't like it. She thought I was tied, you know, she didn't like being tied down.
Trying to control her.
That was it. She, you know, it completely backfired against me and the children, you know, and I've not really seen her since, you know, do you know what I mean? It's horrible. It can be horrible too, you know, it's not all good.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. It's not all godly. I don't think it is anyway. You know, and I always, honestly, I've never done anything wrong. Like, you know, when I was married, I didn't sleep with anyone or look at any other women. You know, I was trying to do the right thing all the time. Put the kids to bed, take them to school, go to work, you know, get up early, be on time, you know, do everything right, you know, and just try to do the right thing. But even doing the right thing, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean? Buying her this, buying her that, whatever. Trying to love her as much as you can.
Sometimes, no matter how much, sometimes it doesn't matter how much a person does, mate. It's never enough.
No.
For a person who will never be satisfied.
No.
If you get what I'm trying to say.
You know, to be honest, I thought we were soulmates, you know, and I thought we'd, you know, you get married. I didn't think we'd ever divorce, you know, but we did. You know, it's incredible to me.
Yeah.
Because we're, you know, my children are very, very happy. We have a lovely house together, whatever, you know. But she, you know, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Yeah.
You know, she's probably missing me now.
Yeah, might be.
You know, but there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate not being married anymore.
Being a free man, living a bachelor's life, mate. But yeah, I give thanks for my wife. You know, like she's the asset to my life in many ways. You know, and yeah, you know, like we all try out, but anyone that's been in a long-term marriage all knows that at some point in your marriage life you're going to face trials and tribulations of whatever, in whatever shape or form, whether they be minuscule or, you know, something a bit more, a bit more, you know, a bit worse, if you see what I mean. But yeah, everyone goes through their ups and downs in their marriages and shit sometimes, you know, but I think if you're able to communicate well, that helps. You know, if you're able to both sit down and like talk about your issues and work through your issues and whatever the case may be, that's a huge factor in what helps a lot of relationships to stay together. And like, you know,
definitely, yeah. I said my ex-wife was deaf.
Yeah.
And yeah, we didn't sit down and talk.
But some people find it hard to express themselves, you know. And what happens is that sometimes people don't say things. What happens is that sometimes people don't say anything, and a lot of time goes by, and you know, people will be brewing up, and then someone will bottle up all that emotion, and one day they just explode, and then it's just like, you know, that's it, I want a divorce. And it's like, if that person had maybe talked about every time they got upset about something, if they had potentially, you know, spoke to their other half and said, listen, you know, when you get home from work, can we have a quick chat while we're having dinner? You know, not in a, you know, but in a constructive way, not in a funny way, but in a constructive way where you can be like, you know, like this, you know, this is what's, you know, something that didn't really make me I'm not really too happy about, you know, like I want to talk about it or whatever, you know. It's not easy for a lot of people to do. That's the reality. Even today, a lot of people, it's easier said than done. A lot of people, you know, a lot more people are doing it today because I think people are understanding that you have to, you know, sometimes like, and also sometimes like people automatically assume that someone's going to know what they like, if you see what I mean, if that makes sense. Like, you know, like sometimes you have to tell people, you know, what it is that you want from them, if you see what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say.
Unless you ask.
Like you got to tell that, I think when people first get into a relationship with people, they should kind of like ask each other, what are your intentions, like, you know, where do you kind of see this going? If this becomes serious, where do you see this going? Like, you know,
that's true.
What, etc. You know.
I mean, those are the kind of things I didn't really talk to with my ex-wife, you know.
Yeah.
Like going back in time, I'm talking about, I was married 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm more experienced now, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think, you know, like I say, I would have saved my marriage now, do you know what I mean? I was a bit immature back then, you know, and I don't think I could, you know, it was impossible for me to save it back then, you know, because I wasn't intelligent enough, you know.
Yeah.
And because I've gone through losing her, whatever, and it's been really difficult for me, whatever, and I've got over it now. It's taught me a lesson, you know, and that's it, you know, and I appreciate now that I've experienced it all.
Yeah.
You know, and I can look back at it and understand things a lot better, you know, understand marriage, understand, you know, I mean the first year, what she said, you know, it really puzzled me, you know, it really it shocked me.
Okay, what, her behaviour?
Well, no, just just everything, the first year, you know.
Yeah.
It just put my mind into confusion.
Okay. Yeah.
In many ways, you know, with the job I was doing, everything, you know, in life itself, you know, I was just confused.
Yeah.
You know, when the woman that you married and loved and had 2 children with doesn't love you anymore.
Yeah.
For some reason, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really difficult, you know, to, you know, because you love her, but she don't love you. You know, and that's hard. You know, but you know, after a few years, you know, I've accepted it. You know.
Yeah.
And realised really I shouldn't have fallen in love with her in the first place, as much as I did.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was a kind of my big mistake in a kind of way, you know.
Mm.
Or, you know, when I first met her, having sex with her straight away and things like that. Do you know what I mean? That, you know, I think people go too fast, you know, especially when you're young. And I don't think you can help going too fast, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you want to experience these things quickly,
Yeah.
and you can't wait, and you've got no patience, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes lust takes over.
And then when you have sex, you have a good time, you want to do it again and again and again, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
You know, and then you have a baby before you know it, do you know what I mean? I mean, literally, when I did marry, you know, I had a few girlfriends before her or whatever. You know, I did have a family before her, you know, another child. Right, so I've experienced a few women, whatever, before, but I still needed more experience with women, do you know what I mean? And I shouldn't have really, you know, when I look back, you know, started having sex with her straight away and things, you know, do you know what I mean? I should have sort of got to know her before, do you know what I mean? You know, and like I say, I wasn't like intelligent with women, do you know what I mean? Yeah, back then.
Yeah.
You know, now I know more and understand more about women now. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I didn't have proper parent upbringing about sex itself. Do you know what I mean? And when I left school and left home, like I said, I was a bit wild, and I did not understand how to, in a kind of way that women had orgasms and things. Do you know what I mean? And so on and so on. It took me time to understand that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, by the time I met my wife, obviously I didn't know that, do you know what I mean? But I'm talking about when I left school, I didn't really understand women, or I do now.
Yeah.
In a big way, do you know what I mean? And I even understand my wife a lot more now, you know, my ex-wife.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I look at myself back then, that, you know, when she got upset, I should have cuddled her more, you know, and, you know, but I couldn't, because I didn't understand, if you see what I mean, you know, how to solve her misery or whatever, or her depressions or whatever, you know. I didn't know how to cope with them, if you see what I mean, back then. But I think I would be able to now, you know. I'd be more sort of not shouting at her or being mean to her like I was a little bit, do you know what I mean? More comforting to her,
yeah.
You know, and more loving, you know. So sometimes I think it was my own fault as well for not knowing enough about marriage or women, so on and so on, you know. You know, it's life, isn't it? You know, I think like if I got married now, or met a woman now, I'd do it 10 times better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I understand women a lot more than I did back then.
Yeah.
You know.
In the past.
You know, so I can understand that my ex-wife, why she had enough of me, because I didn't understand women as much as I should have done.
Yeah.
You know, because I wasn't brought up properly, basically.
Yeah.
You know, so I appreciate that I know now. Do you know what I mean? But it took me a long time. You know, it does take a long time to learn these things for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be great if I did have someone like teachers or whatever teach me about women or how to be.
Yeah.
You know. You know, I mean,
some
like,
kind of advice.
I was exploited with like dirty magazines when I was 14. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was looking at like women's bodies. Do you know what I mean? All kinds of things. You know, when I was very young.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing that kind of like altered me in a bad way when I did meet women finally, because I did not know how to, you know, like, because I've seen loads of magazines and things like that.
Yeah.
It's not such a, you know, I'm not respecting her as much, I suppose, you know, or appreciating her as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on to that word, appreciating.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm exploited in this you know what it's like, don't you, with all these magazines everywhere, especially, you know, I don't think there's like it's so bad now. They used to have magazines everywhere when I was younger.
Yeah.
In the news.
Well, I think it's a different form today. It's all internet based, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's pornography everywhere you look. That's on the internet. You know, it's, you know.
And I think it's a little bit damaging to children's minds a bit, you know, seeing all this.
Not only that, but I think not just children. I think to people, just all can be damaging to a lot of people. You know, sometimes it destroys like a relationship dynamic. Sometimes for people too. You know, sometimes people get confused between what is fantasy and what is actually reality too. Because you might have some people that might watch a certain type of porn, they might be addicted to watching porn, and they're addicted to watching a certain type of porn, but the woman that they're with might not be into that shit, if you see what I mean. So when it comes to actually time to being intimate with their loved one, they can't really, they're struggling to you know what I mean, to have any kind of, you know, to have any, you know, have a good sexual relationship, because, you know, they've pre-programmed their mind to what turns them on, if you see what I mean, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And if they don't get that, there is no, you know, no arousal,
like,
arousal, if you see
it's
what
like
I mean.
these plastic dildos and everything, alright. You said women don't appreciate men so much, do they?
Well, I think if you ask any woman really, she much prefers having sex with a real man than a dildo.
Yeah, I suppose so.
To be honest.
Anyway, let's change the subject.
But, you know what I mean?
Let's change the subject.
But it's only because you brought it up.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was a, you know.
Because I was going to say, any woman that I've ever messed with has always said this. Anytime I've, you know, a few times I have asked, you know, a few women that not many women that I've never known that have really ever had toys that kind of way, really, to be honest, you know.
There's a lot of toys out there today, though.
There is, yeah, but I must say most of the birds that I have been ever in my life, you know, yeah, a few have had, you know, a few here and there, but not most of them have, you know, much prefer to just, you know.
We'll change the subject.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess we'll say we're coming up to the end of the show.
I think we, yeah, we better say goodbye, haven't we, really?
Better start wrapping up. Yeah.
But yeah, I've appreciated even the last few hours doing this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope you appreciated what we spoke about today. Like, so I think like appreciation is one of the most important things to have in life. Like, as I say, if you haven't got it, I don't think you're going to enjoy life whatsoever. You know, that's it really.
That's it.
You know, the more you've got, the more you're going to smile.
That's
I think. I want more of it. I want more appreciation in my life, you know.
All greed does is poison people. Poisons their heart and their soul and their conscience.
I think everyone's greedy.
Because don't
you think? A little bit.
Maybe to a degree.
I think it's human nature.
Human nature.
It's the problem of humans.
But
are greedy.
I think that there is you have to have self control is very, very important. Because sometimes greed just destroys some people. If you see what I mean, they're willing to do whatever it takes to get whatever they want, and that's quite scary. If you get what I'm trying to say, there are some people out there that will literally do anything. You know, no compassion for other people or consideration, or they'll do whatever they have to do. You know,
they live in a different world, really.
And, you know, no thought of other people. You know.
I think like it's, you know, again, like it's all down to educating people really, you know, to understand greed. Yeah. You know, but it's getting them to understand it. You know, like for instance, I've learned really like I don't want things anymore. You know, in a kind of way, getting rid of your things makes you richer.
Oh, definitely.
Or not having anything makes you richer. Yeah. But some people don't understand that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know, or. You know, if they learned it, I think they'd appreciate life more.
Yeah.
because greed, right, people always wanting more. Every time they wake up, they want more and more and more. So that means they're never happy. You know, so you got to think, you know, stop at one point in your life and think about what you've already got in your life and be happy with it.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah? Be happy with what you got. Like your arms and legs, for instance, you know. I mean, if I lost all my money and my home and I was homeless tomorrow, I'm not joking you, I'd still smile because I know that I've got my eyes, arms and legs. You know, I'll pop round my mum's and see her and sleep there. You know what I mean? You know, so I've got someone to go and see or stay or whatever. But I'd appreciate being alive. You know, it don't matter what you lose in life, you know, because we're all going to lose it in life anyway. You know, look, it's not going to be long. 25 years, I'll be out of this world, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. You know, and all this will be gone. I'm moving out of this place anyway, you know, if you're with me. I'm moving out the whole world.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it's not a good idea.
You're going on a permanent holiday?
Well, I don't know, I might come back, but,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, you know, I don't, you know, it's interesting, isn't it, you know? You know, I don't know whether I want to actually die and still carry on being alive. Are you with me?
Yeah.
You know, just carry on existing. I don't mind the idea of this reincarnation. You know, being someone else, you know, or whatever.
I think
that sounds better.
I think that's a very real possibility.
Can you imagine sort of like dying, then becoming some sort of ghost or soul of a spirit with your thoughts and living forever and ever?
Yeah.
Why? Why would you want to live forever?
I know.
There's no reason. What are you going to do? Are you going to paint the stars? Do you know what I mean? When you in your next destination, you know, or what is it? You know, where you know, why are we learning so much in this world in a kind of way?
Well, I think man just has a thirst for a deeper understanding of what life is about. If you see what I mean, you know. I think it's that thing of like. I think it's just the same thing that most questions that most people have in life, you know, the whole thing of where do we come from, why are we here, what is my purpose, you know, what am I doing in my life, you know, what makes me happy, what am I passionate about, what do I love, you know, what drives me on a day-to-day basis, you know, all those things, you know, like, you know, I think it's that. I think man just has a quest for like to gain knowledge consistently, if you see what I mean. It's like and it's evident over time as well, like through all the technological things that have been created and you know we're at a point today where we're so technologically quite advanced, really. You know that we have gained a lot of knowledge over the last 50 years or so.
And a lot of rubbish.
And a lot of rubbish too, that's true too. But over the last 50 years or so, we've gained a lot of knowledge that has enabled us to create loads of different shit. You know, last 100 years or so have been
quite a lift, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like quite a step.
Quite a step in comparison.
A big step.
A big step in comparison to what it was prior to that for a long time. You know. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anyway, mate.
Yeah.
I think we better wrap it up and call it a night for this week's episode. You got any final words or any final statements or anything you wanna leave with the people before we call it a night? And
just appreciate the moment.
That's it.
Yeah.
I second that. Yeah.
Appreciate the moment, and if you wake up tomorrow, I appreciate that too.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say before we go, all I've got to say is kind of pretty much what he said, but in a nutshell, basically, you know, appreciate life. All I want to say really is enjoy life. You know, appreciate it for what it is. Make the most of it. Appreciate what you do have. Count your blessings. You know, appreciate your loved ones and all the stuff that truly matters, that is really important to you in life, and all the stuff that really matters to you. Appreciate those things the most, you know, and give those things most of your time and your energy if you can, if you see what I mean, you know. But yeah, God bless. Good night. And yeah, appreciate everything you have, and yeah.
I appreciate you.
And likewise, mate. A good friend, a friend in need. What was it?
A good friend in need is
a friend indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another old saying.
Another old saying, something like that.
I'm not another old saying.
Yeah, no, not another one, mate. That's a record for this, for our show.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, good night. Appreciate life and everything you have. And yeah, we'll be back again next week with a brand new episode. Good night.